Hi, welcome back to English 111 Online. This week, these are the things that you need to do, and it's a long list, but if you go through and do these things step by step, the whole assignment will make more sense to you. I put it in the order that I think it'll make the most sense to you. So just follow them and make sure you do all of this. First, view my video, which is what you're doing right now. And then view the video on how to get feedback from Turnitin. And it's right here, right below my video for this week. If you click on that, it will show you how to get feedback from your Turnitin assignments. And it's really important to do that because the feedback is probably the most important part. Of course, I know to you, your grade is the most important part. But the lessons to be learned from the feedback is very important. So please go in there, look at the comments that I've made. If you see that you're missing the same thing over and over, and I've made several comments about the same thing, and write it down somewhere. Keep a record of it so that you can work on that for the next time. That's what getting feedback is all about. All right, the next thing to do then, excuse me, is to read pages 9 through 16 in the Little Seagull Handbook. I assigned that for last week also, but if you didn't get a chance to read it then, read it now because that tells you how to write essays. View the slideshow presentation on writing an essay. That was also assigned for last week, but I moved it down to this week also. And it is right here. And then and once again, be reminded you need to be signed into your Nash Community College student Gmail account to access all the documents of the course. The next document to read is this basic MLA format. It tells you basically what MLA formatting is. You can also get that from your Little Seagull Handbook. And I have even put a copy of a sample MLA formatted essay right here so that you can see what it looks like. It shows you what the works cited page looks like, what the headers on the pages look like, the heading on the first page, how to indent the paragraphs. Everything is shown on that sample formatted essay right there. Okay, so the next thing on the Moodle page that we need to do is to read the document for this assignment. This is the analysis reader response document, and I separated it here so it'll be easier for you to see it. When you bring that up in your documents, and again, you got to be in the student Gmail to open that up, you'll see that our purpose is to write an essay responding to one of the writing prompts below, and I'll go over those with you in just a minute. Your audience is the English 111 class, particularly me. The tone, I have put some information in this document to remind you what we've already learned about writing, about tone, the academic tone for an article. This is 2 to 3 pages. Don't worry about, 2 to 3 pages. Remember, it's double line spaced in MLA format. And it's also in MLA format. You can see another sample essay on page 161 in the Little Seagull Handbook. But by the time it's double line spaced, you have your heading on the front page, you have your title. You're already a third of the way down of the first page, and if you do everything that I ask you to do in this assignment with an introduction, body paragraphs, and a conclusion, you will have 2 to 3 pages, so don't worry about that. Don't let that freak you out. Our source, we'll have one source for this essay. Eventually, we'll do some research, and you'll come up with some of your own sources, but for this time, it is one of the 3 options that I have given you. The due dates, you will submit this, the rough draft on the Turnitin link by next Tuesday night, September 18th. and your final draft will be on the Turnitin link by September 25th. Here are the objectives of the assignment there. You can read those for yourself. And here are the assignment instructions here. The academic tone. This is where I reminded you of ways to create academic tone in case you've forgotten that. Do not use first person or second person. Use third person, which is more objective, instead of I believe that all students can learn, or excuse me, my philosophy is that all patients deserve respect. Write it this way: all students can learn, all patients deserve respect. Now, in our introduction paragraph, we had to use first person because it was about you, a personal introduction. But in this one, everything should be in third person. Do not use the words very or a lot. Instead, use specific adjectives and verbs. We have lots of good adjectives and verbs in the English language that you can use to express yourself. You don't have to say very or a lot. Instead of saying he was in a lot of pain, you can say he was in excruciating pain. Excruciating, isn't that a lovely word? Do not use slang, cliches, or colloquialisms because they may not be understood by everyone, but also it gives it that more casual tone. We want to keep it in that more elevated tone of academic tone. So instead of saying people might not get what you're saying, people may not understand what one is saying. We're going to leave that you out, and we're going to definitely get that colloquialism out about they don't get it. Okay, so the next thing to do is to choose your topic. You would choose one of these, and I've given you 3 options, and yes, it must be one of these. So in your Rereading America, you can read Becoming Members of Society, Learning the Social Meanings of Gender by Erin DeVore. I gave you the page numbers there. And the writing prompt for that essay, if you choose that one, is how, according to DeVore, do children acquire gender roles? What are the functions of the generalized other and the significant other in this process? And those terms are mentioned in the article, so you should be able to understand what they are after you've read the article. Second option is The Longest War by Rebecca Solnit, and it's also in Rereading America. There are the page numbers. The writing prompt: Solnit contends that violence against women is a system of control. How does she support this claim, and which aspects of her argument do you find most and least compelling, and why? So that's your reader response to that writing prompt. And then your third option, if you have the book Lean In, Chapter 1, The Leadership Ambition Gap, and here's your writing prompt for that. Gendered beliefs and expectations. How are boys and girls treated differently at school and at home? What messages do these different ways of treating boys and girls send about how they should act and how they should think about themselves? What role do gendered beliefs and expectations play in the kinds of aspirations boys and girls are encouraged or discouraged from having? So all 3 of those, as you can see, center around the word gender and what it means for our society and how we use it, and what the effects of gender are in our society. All right, your title for your essay, it should be centered on the next line after the heading. Make sure that it's something other than the assignment itself. And so instead of saying reader response essay as your title, make it relate to the essay content itself. I gave you a sample essay that you can read, and I based my essay not on one of those 3 choices that you have, but on another reading from our textbook, Rereading America, Jamaica Kincaid's Girl. And so here's the title I chose for my sample essay: A Woman's Power in Jamaica Kincaid's Girl. And so anything. It can sound really formal like that. Um, it can be anything that you want it to be, and sometimes you don't even know what you want to title it until you write the essay itself. But it should be related to the content of the essay. Introductory paragraphs. I've given you some real specific information about writing introductory paragraphs. You had something to look at last week about this, but I think this will be really helpful if you follow the steps. You want to start with your attention getter, something, maybe a quotation from the essay that you're reading. The bridge, which narrows this attention getter down to the specific point or thesis statement that you're making, and explains what that is here. And then your thesis statement is your stance on the topic. It answers the writing prompt. And so use your writing prompt to determine what your thesis is going to be, and they'll be different depending on which one you chose. So here's step-by-step instructions for writing the introductory paragraph. I say start by developing the thesis statement. A thesis statement is going to be the very last sentence in your paragraph. But I think if you know where you're going with your thesis statement, then it'll be easier to go back and construct from getting the reader's attention all the way down to the point that you want to make. I think it's easier if you know what the point you want to make is to begin with. So for my sample essay that I wrote based on Jamaica Kincaid's Girl, my thesis was this: in spite of all the advice that is given to young females about how to fit into the society as a proper young lady, it is implied that there are certain kinds of power that young women have if they just realize it. That's the point I want to make. And then I backed up from my thesis statement to the attention getter. I used a quotation, and that's probably something that you could do as well, something that'll catch your reader's attention. I used this one. Jamaica Kincaid advises the young woman in her essay Girl to walk like a lady and not like the slut you are so bent on becoming. All right, so that would get my attention because she does keep accusing her of being a slut. There is a video of Jamaica Kincaid reading Girl, and you can watch her read it and read it along with her in the book. That is not for your assignment. It's just something to give you a context for this assignment, so you can give you a context for the sample essay that I wrote. So anyway, here is my model of an introductory paragraph. Jamaica Kincaid's narrator advises the young woman in her essay Girl to walk like a lady and not like the slut you're bent on becoming, and that comes from page 469. The narrator drones on about every single thing that the woman must do to be the best girl she can be, including this warning about her morals. She advises that if she cooks, cleans, and performs other domestic chores, usually assigned to females, she will have the opportunity to be a successful woman. In addition, she warns her about superstitions and other events that could happen to her that she can avoid if she knows how. In spite of all the advice that is given to young females about how to fit into the society as a proper young lady, it is implied that there are certain kinds of power that young women have if they just realize it. So that's my introductory paragraph. Got your attention with the slut comment up here and narrowed it down to the point that I want to make, which is that women can be quite powerful, and she teaches in this essay how to become powerful, or how to use the power. So every essay is going to begin with an introduction. I always suggest that method. Start with your thesis statement. Go to something that will capture the audience's attention, and then build the bridge in between. The body paragraphs, create a body paragraph for every point that you will have to support your thesis statement. I suggest that you have at least 3 points that will back up your thesis statement. You're going to bring in information from the essay in the body paragraphs to help you make the point. Remember, each body paragraph is going to have a topic sentence. That's something you had to do for last week. And every body paragraph, you should tell the reader what the paragraph is going to be about before you start explaining. And then in the conclusion paragraph, it wraps up the essay, restates the points you are making, and then broadens it back out to some general statement that you would like for your reader to consider at the end. Here's the information on the MLA formatting in addition to the document that you have to read about that. I really suggest that you use highly suggest, I wish I could make you, but I can't make you, use the Google Docs for this because it saves automatically and it's not lost. As long as you have internet access, you can have access to that document. In-text citations and the works cited page. Look at my sample essay. Look at the other sample essay of MLA formatted essay that is used, and you can see that you're going to back up the information that you put in your paragraphs with evidence from the essay. And every time you give information from the essay or the chapter, if you're writing about the first chapter of Lean In, you're going to include the page number from which you got the information in parentheses at the end of the sentence. Look at my sample to see how the punctuation goes and everything for that. And even if you're not using a direct quotation, you still need to include the page number from each time that you paraphrase, summarize, whatever it is that you're doing, so that the reader can look back at the works cited page and see where the information came from. All right, so here are the works cited page entries for each of the three choices. If you're choosing the DeVore article, this is what you put on your works cited page right here. I'm giving it to you this time, but the pattern is the same every time, and so when we use different kinds of sources, I'll show you a different organization, a different pattern for doing it. But it always starts with the author's last name, author's first name, the name of the article, the book that it came from, the edition, the publisher, and the year of publication, and then the page numbers. That is for every time we use an essay from our book. You'll use the same format. The only thing that will change is the author, the title of the article, and the page numbers. But so you can always go back and use this as a pattern for anything that comes from our Rereading America. If you're using Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In, then this is the citation you would use for that right there. The grading rubric for this assignment, I put it on there. You can, it's the same grading rubric that I used for the introduction paragraph, but I put it here too so that you can see where I get the grades for the numbers for the assignment. And if you have any question about any of this while you're working on this assignment, email me and I will work with you to try to get you the help that you need. Don't become confused or flustered, and don't wait till the last minute either to work on this, because there's quite a bit of stuff you need to do here in order to get this done. Here is the Jamaica Kincaid Reading Girl. Those are the page numbers that it is in Rereading America, and that is only to give you context for my sample essay that I wrote. Here's my sample essay. It is correctly MLA formatted in a Google Doc. It's coming up. All right, and so if you follow my lead here, here's my header. I'll give you a hint about inserting this page, this header up here. Don't insert the header, insert page number, and then add your last name to it. Here's the heading that goes only on the first page. And that's not your English 111 there. That was another class. So, of course, you put the one for your class. A Woman's Power in Jamaica Kincaid's Girl is my title. Here's my introductory paragraph. Notice that in MLA format, we indent the first line of each paragraph, and that is how we tell the difference, because everything is double line spaced and you don't put any extra spaces in between. So right after the title comes the first sentence of your essay. Here's my introductory paragraph. Notice that every time I use a quotation or a summary or a paraphrase from the article, every time I mention the article, I'm going to put the page numbers where that came from in the article at the end of it, just like that. You won't have to, you will introduce the author and the essay or the chapter from the book, whatever, in your introductory paragraph, because your reader will need to know what you're talking about. And once you mention that, you don't have to mention it again. Just put your page numbers in. Here are my body paragraphs where I make my 3 points. One kind of power women have is they can take care of themselves independently if that is their choice. There's my topic sentence. And then I give evidence to back that up. How do I know that? Well, I'm giving you evidence from what I read. For example, the narrator gives advice about running a household, doing chores such as laundry and cooking. She tells the young woman in the essay, and then I've used a quotation here, and notice I put the page number there again at the end of it. And so I want you to remember the term ICE, I-C-E. Introduce. Notice that I have, I tell you here, she tells the young woman in the essay, I'm talking about the narrator here, before I put my quote, I introduce it with something. You need a signal phrase or some kind of introductory words to tell your reader that I'm not just writing my own ideas now, I'm giving you something that came from the article from the author. And then after you introduce it for the I, C is cite it, there's the page number right after it, and then explain it. The E in ICE is to explain. So this is where the analysis comes in. Perhaps the narrator has learned from her own mistakes about doing laundry and wishes to pass the lessons learned on to the girl so that she can avoid the same mistakes. That's my analysis of it. This is not something that the author told me. This is something that I figured out myself from reading that, and it explains why I put this quotation in there as an example. So give plenty of evidence from your article to back up your topic sentence in each paragraph. Here's another paragraph with another topic sentence. Another kind of power is she can present herself in ways that reflect the image she wants others to have of her. And again, I give evidence from the story here. And then I cite it with the page number, and then I explain it. I explain to the reader what the connection is to my topic sentence. And I do that for every body paragraph until I get down, after I've made my 3 points in 3 body paragraphs, I get down to the conclusion. And so I use the concluding word here. Thus, in Jamaica Kincaid's Girl, the narrator explains how the young woman has much power in a society that doesn't seem to afford her much control. This is a restatement of my thesis statement that I had to begin with. It's not word for word, but it makes the same point. And then I broaden it out to this very general statement at the end to leave my reader with something to think about. With all of this advice, if taken to heart, the girl will be able to cope in her culture with the most authority she can muster. And I'm done. That's it. And then, of course, we have a separate works cited page to get to the works cited page, just go to the end of your last paragraph, insert a page break. It'll take you to a separate page because the works cited page is on a separate page. It's titled Works Cited, and then it has a hanging indent like this with the author's last name sticking out. Okay, so that's my sample essay showing you step by step what it looks like and how you can do it. You cannot copy my essay because I wrote about something that is not a choice for you. That's why I wrote about something else. But you're going to pick one of those three, the 2 articles or the first chapter, and lean in, and you're going to write based on those writing prompts that go with each one of them. All right, the other thing to do is once you create your, and once you read and decide which one you're going to use, once you come up with some ideas to use, you are going to, choose one of the options in the assignment document. Generate ideas for the assignment, create a rough draft, something that might help you to get in the mood for one of those articles or to get started. I put some videos at the end of the at the end of the resources down here. These 3 videos. One relates to chapter 1 in Sandberg, Lean In. This one relates to the DeVore article, and this one relates to Solnit's article. You may just want to watch those. They're really short, and it gives you an idea or some context for what the 3 themes are about, and might help you to make a choice on one of them. You also may just have to read a couple of them to see which one it is that you want to write about. So that's optional, but it's a good introduction to those essays. After you get your essay written, your rough draft drafted, then you'll come down here to the graded assignment. Underneath there's the rough draft turn it in assignment right there. Just click on that, upload your assignment. You have until right before midnight on September the 18th. I'm going to make some comments on it for you to make some revisions, and then you can go back in after I get those comments made and make revisions, additions, whatever it is that you need to do to your essay, and you'll get 100 for doing this. It's either I've done it or I haven't. And I hope you'll do it. I'd take a course grade of 100 for turning in my rough draft. But I also want you to look at the comments on that. And again, the feedback is awfully important for your final draft, which will be due on September the 25th before midnight. Also complete the inquisitive assignments that are due before midnight on the 19th. And there are some documents here, these things that I have included here about commas, for extra information about those if you want to view those, if you're having trouble doing any of the inquisitive assignments, or if you just want more information before you get started on the inquisitive assignments. That is related to that. Okay, so that's what we need to do for this week, and I hope you have a great week. Contact me if you have any problems or any questions, and I will talk to you next time.